had killed Amnon for raping his sister, and then of course he took off and fled and hid. So at this point, that when we are coming in here to chapter 14, there has been more time total that has, so essentially the time frame that has happened, okay, 5 years since his sister was defiled, and 3 years he has now been in exile, okay, 3 years that he has been kind of in hiding, okay? Not necessarily hiding per se, you know, David knew where he was, but he was just putting some good distance, let's say, between him and King David for a while. So what we are seeing, let's go ahead and read, let's just start out with one verse for now, the first verse. So Joab, the son of Zeruiah, perceived that the king's heart was concerned about Absalom. Okay, first of all, they should not split up the name Zeruiah between two lines. It's harder to read. So in my Bible, they split it up. Of all words, it's got to be a name. So what we're seeing here, okay, so Joab is King David's top commanding officer of the army, of the Israelite army. And for what we are seeing, okay, so being he's essentially, other than David being commander-in-chief, you know, there is no one else higher in the military than Joab. And he is, being that's the case, he is around King David a lot. Okay, he's seeing what David has gone through these 5 years. Okay, and then of course the 3 years after losing his one son, and then his other son now being away from him, not seeing him, just seeing how he is torn, how David is torn apart, you know, by all of this sort of thing. But the different things that have happened and such, which is understandable, you know, just being a father, just looking at that one aspect of David, you know, of the sense of a father, of I can't imagine what he was going through at this point. Okay, but see, the other thing that can happen is when there is this unrest going on in the king's family, okay, that typically that would affect David's overall, obviously, mood, his attitude, which then could essentially a snowball rolling down a hill, you know, just can affect so much more. If you remember, you know, cartoons, and this is one from even, you know, years and years ago cartoons, you know, as a snowball going down the hill, first as it's growing, it grabs this person, gets a little bigger, grabs this person, gets a little bigger, grabs another person. Next thing you know, you have this person's arm sticking out, this other person's foot, another person's head. You know, it's just seems to just grab everybody coming in. Well, this being the case, this is what David's attitude, and because of all of this, would get to be where it could affect everyone in the kingdom. Okay, so Joab here, when he sees, okay, that the king's heart was concerned, that's what my version that I'm using tonight uses, that word was concerned about Absalom. Okay, it's not concern, okay, in the sense that we now think of the word of concern, you know, like, oh, I'm concerned about that, you know, sort of a mediocre interest sort of thing. No, I mean, this comes down to it is affecting David in every way, thus everyone around him. You know, sort of another way to look at it is the The old saying, happy wife, happy life sort of thing. Well, you know what? It's, happy king. It's a happy life for his subjects as well. So Joab is seeing this, and he decides, instead of approaching David firsthand, directly, or maybe he's tried this already and it's just not recorded, I'm not sure. But anyways, he decides he's going to do something about it. Okay, he goes, and let's pick up in verse 2. And Joab sent to Tekoa, and brought from there a wise woman, and said to her, please pretend to be a mourner, and put on mourning apparel. Do not anoint yourself with oil, but act like a woman who has been mourning a long time for the dead. Go to the king and speak to him in this manner. So Joab put the words in her mouth. Okay, so Joab decides, well, why don't I try to help David in a way that is, David has used in the past himself in the sense of trickery. Okay, let's try helping David out, thus helping me out, one of the citizens. Even though I have a cushy job, I'm still a citizen under him, Let's help him out, but by means of trickery, to make sure this works. So he goes to Tekoa, or he's sent to Tekoa, and it says brought from there a wise woman. Now I looked into this. What is it? Is it just simply wise woman, or is there something more to that? So this wise woman, okay, is not, as we read it, those two words, just, a wise woman, okay? This is the easiest way to put it in today's words. She's an actress, okay? Say she puts on plays or whatever, that is what she is good at, and she is known for it. She's fairly well known for being good in the arts, okay? And so he wants to try and make sure that this is believable, okay? So he goes and he gets this woman, and the way that she puts it on, some commentators believe that she may have been a mother herself as well, just to help along. They'll make it easier for her to make this believable, okay? So what I'm going to do, I've broken this up, the next quite a few verses here. When you read the Bible verses themselves, the way it goes back and forth, it can be, how can I put it? It can be quite time consuming to go back and explain the way certain things are, okay? So if you'll let me, I have taken the liberty tonight, let's say the Nate Crane version, okay? And sort of, being that she is putting on an act, okay, with the king, that's the way I'll do it tonight. And this covers verses 4 all the way down through verse 20, okay? This is the whole conversation that goes on between this woman, okay, and King David. The woman says, King David, I need your help. I need you to help me see through what has happened in my family. Will you give me your judgment, or will you help me out? King David says, tell me what is wrong, and I will help you. The woman said, I had 2 sons, but one of them became so angry, so violently angry with his brother, his anger led him to kill his brother. I tell you, it is an awful thing to see such hatred anywhere. But it is horrible beyond words to see hatred in your own household. There is something in us that makes anger among those of us who love each other deep down all the more terrifying. But, sir, your highness, everybody says I should write off this other son too, and that I should see to it that he is severely punished. Everybody is in such a hurry for me to destroy him for what he has done. They say I should have him captured and put to death. Your highness, if I do that, I will have no sons. And if I do that, what will he learn? I know the law says an eye for an eye and a life for a life, but my heart tells me something else. What shall I do? King David then replies, justice must be served. Just let me take it from here. I'll do something. I'll get around to it. But justice has to be served. That's the law. But your highness, that may be justice to let the executioner take his life, but that does not contribute to the future. Your highness, let me take his punishment. Let me absorb his guilt. Okay, this coming into play here, and pause really quick. With her saying that she wants to take this on herself, this is where a lot of commentators get the idea that she might be a mother herself and would know, wait a second, this is something a mother would do. This is really going to help to sell this this facade, not this facade, but this act I'm putting on for the king. Your highness, let me take his punishment. Let me absorb his guilt. I am along in years, and it will not matter if I go to prison or even if I die, if it must be. I ask only one thing, that no one destroys my son. He needs another chance. He needs to be turned around, not slaughtered for some abstract principle. If someone must suffer, let me be that someone. Okay, this is now really sounding as if it's truly coming from a mother who is torn, okay, as far as what should be done here. King David then would reply, all right, you don't have to get dramatic on me, but I can promise that your son will not die. We'll find some other way to deal with him. Stop your wailing. We will not execute this boy of yours. Your Highness, now if that is what you really think, if that is now your best judgment, I am going to have to tell you something, but you aren't going to like this. What are you talking about? I've given you what you wanted. What else is there? Your Highness, to tell you the truth, I'm not really talking about my sons. I'm talking about yours. It is not me who has a son who is running and hiding because of his guilt. It is you. And it's not me who would be torn by indecision and fear about my son. It is you. Your Highness, when are you going to see Absalom? And when will you get off dead center with your own son? We, the people of the kingdom, are afraid. We are afraid for you because we see that your heart has no peace as long as you do not try to bring justice to this matter. We are afraid for Absalom because we see that he cannot live and grow as long as he knows he is not forgiven. And we are afraid for ourselves, for this nation, for we know that when people who care deeply for each other refuse to acknowledge that, everybody around them gets hurt. Your Highness, if you and Absalom keep on pretending that nothing needs to be done, one of you will explode and you'll bring us all to grief. Your Highness, I beg you, go to your son, call him to your side, bring him to Jerusalem. It will hurt your pride, but do it, sir, for the sake of all of us. King David replies, Woman, you have tricked me, but I hear what you're saying. I understand you. Okay, David did have a little bit of wisdom in him now. Because the next thing he asked is, did Joab put you up to this? Now be truthful with me. The woman then replied, and this is the end of their conversation between the two of them. What you have already said and promised has to come true. Okay, she's reminding David, you're the king. You've already declared that this is what should happen with this situation. Saying that, yes, Joab had me speak to you. He is worried how unsettled you and your household is right now. He did it for yours and our own peace. Okay, so that is what we see in verses 4 through verse 20 in the chapter, in chapter 14. I went through this and going through it and putting it, like I said, in the words that I did, going back and forth in that way, I think helps to. I know for me, it really helped understand everything that was going on here and the way it was going back and forth. So King David really buys this, but then, like I said, all of a sudden, when she goes and says, no, this is you, he just, wait a second. Okay? But I mean, this isn't the first time, that David has had this either. Where he's been called out, hey, I'm not talking about this person, it's you. Okay? It's not the first time that this has happened, that he has experienced this. And he very well, as king, okay, he very well could have said, when he said, you have tricked me, I was trying to find it in the verse, what verse is that in? I'm not seeing it right in front of me, but where he says that you have tricked me in this, you have played a trick on me, he very well could have at that point had her for her trickery, even though Joab was the one behind it. He very well could have had her imprisoned or worse. However, he saw, might I say, wisdom, okay, in this act that she has put on, this story that she has given to him. He sees wisdom in that. Picking up in verse 21 now. So 2 Samuel chapter 14, verse 21. And this is where King David now, saying that he's putting on a play, an act, okay, so the woman now has exited stage right, okay, she is out of the picture now, I would say that, I'm not just making a joke here, okay, I don't think King David would have addressed Joab, his main one, his sort of right-hand man, you might say, with a commoner present, okay? I don't think he would have addressed him in the way we see without her present. So I do believe at this point that he would have had her leave, essentially, okay, your job is done, whatever, just go home. Verse 21, the king said to Joab, all right, I have granted this thing. Go therefore, bring back the young man Absalom. Then Joab fell to the ground on his face and bowed himself and thanked the king. And Joab said, "Today your servant knows that I have found favor in your sight, my lord, O king, and that the king has fulfilled the request of his servant." Excuse me. So Joab arose and went to Geshur and brought Absalom to Jerusalem. I'm going to stop right there before we read the next verse. Okay, so right away, okay, David says, you know what, I have seen through this little act that you have organized, Joab. I can understand what you were saying. And yes, you tricked me into it, but yes, I will allow Absalom to, I'll use the term come home, okay? He can return to his house, okay? Every one of the king's children would have had their own, I hate to use the word quarters, but basically their own really dwelling place. Not a room, but their own house, okay? Their own condominium in the palace, because they are the child of the king. He can return, he can live in his house. And being that is where David stopped, okay? David did not go further to say, you know, oh, but I'm going to punish you or anything. Joab falls on his face, bowed himself down and thanked the king, okay? Him thanking the king was not just, thank you for letting Absalom come back. Okay, it's two-part. It's thank you for letting Absalom come back, but thank you for not punishing me for this trickery. Okay? There's more, there's a little bit more when it comes to that thanking, and that's why he's truly just bowing himself to the ground. Okay? Because that act of trickery was a 50-50 shot as to, you know, whether it was to work and he would get out of it, or if it, or even if it did work or whatever, you know, what would the outcome of him be? You know, whether he would stay in his position, whether he'd just lose his position and, you know, be say put down to where that he'd be the lowest person in the military, or if he was to be jailed or put to death or whatever, okay? It was a toss-up as far as, until this moment, as far as what was going to happen to him. So Joab immediately went and traveled out and to Geshur and brought Absalom back. Okay? However, remember how I said, okay, he can live in his house. Absalom can come back. Verse 24, and the king said, let him return to his own house, but do not let him see my face. So Absalom returned to his own house, but did not see the king's face. David said, fine, you know what? He can come back. He's safe. I won't do anything to him, but I don't want to see him. You know, make sure he comes in through the back door, you know. Make sure he comes in through the back gate, goes to and from his house. He can do whatever he wants to in the city. He is not to come into any of my quarters. He is not to sit at my table. He is not, I do not want to see his face at all. Now, we go on. If you remember, I mentioned last week one thing about Absalom, okay? Absalom was growing up, it was always a thing of, you know, I'm a man, I'm not beautiful, I'm handsome. You know, but handsome, really, when you think about it, okay, the word handsome, oh yeah, that's great. I mean, guys like to be called handsome, okay? But when you think of the word beautiful, the word beautiful, I think, really lifts something up higher than just the word handsome. That does not mean I want you guys to start calling me beautiful, please. No, I'm content with handsome. Okay, well, one thing. Absalom was known for his good looks, But not just good looks. I mean, he was known to be beautiful. Okay? He was, let's go on to read. Verse 25. Now in all Israel, there was no one who was praised as much as Absalom for his good looks. From the sole of his foot to the crown of his head, there was no blemish in him. Okay? He was, I mean, no, I can't. I was going to say, I don't know about you guys, but I do know I can look at you. Okay? At first for myself, believe me, I could find plenty of blemish, okay, in my looks. And, but with Absalom, it was not that case. Everyone looked at him. It didn't matter if they saw his perfectly clipped toenails while he wore his sandals, or saw his perfectly brushed, beautiful, flowing locks of hair, okay? It didn't matter. Everything about him was beautiful. No one could find fault in his looks, okay? And in fact, remember last week, I had mentioned about him cutting his hair and such. This is where I got it, verse 26. And when he cut the hair of his head at the end of every year, so this is once a year he got a haircut, okay? It was heavy on him. When he cut it, he weighed the hair of his head at 200 shekels according to the king's standard. His hair grew so fast, so long and thick. His haircut every year. I mean, you want to talk about a quick losing of 5 pounds. That is 5 pounds of hair in 1 year. That is absolutely crazy for hair. But anyways, I don't want to, even though this is interesting and it is important to know about him, especially we will come back to that beautiful, thick hair a little on later down the line when talking about Absalom. Okay?
It wasn't just thick, it had curls.
Yes, exactly.
Why it weighed so much when you cut it.
And it could, which also played into his demise later on down the road. Yes. Now to Absalom were born 3 sons and 1 daughter, whose name was Tamar. She was a woman of beautiful appearance. Okay? So first of all, 3 sons, we know that. We do not know their names. There is absolutely no record at all of who his 3 sons were, name-wise. We do know Tamar, his daughter, and that by the looks of it, she took after her father when it came to looks, okay? She was a beautiful appearance. Now Absalom dwelt 2 full years, verse 28, in Jerusalem, but did not see the king's face. Therefore Absalom sent for Joab to send him to the king, but he would not come to him. And when he sent again the second time, he would not come. Okay, so here we have Absalom now. This is awesome. He's not in Geshur anymore. He is now back in the palace. Okay? He's back home. Well, how good is home if now 2 full years he's been home, but he can't see his own dad? Now, there was a good chance he was able to see his mother and everything, and other people of his family. But as far as his father, 2 years without seeing him.
I find it interesting that he named his daughter Tamar.
Yeah.
That's what the sister's name was.
Yes. Yep. And if you remember too, with his sister was also considered a very beautiful, beautiful girl as well. Now, unfortunately, because of the act of her half-brother, half-brother, I always get those things, because of her act of her half-brother, she was then not considered. Her looks would have been the same as far as being beautiful, but she would have then, in society, would not have been considered beautiful anymore.
She was ostracized.
Yeah, exactly. Because of those impurities, she would have been ostracized and all of this. Even though she was the king's daughter, that did not change the fact of what had happened to her. So, I mean, as far as whether this was Absalom just, I'm going to name this, even though as far as we know at this point, his sister is still alive, as far as we know she still is. He names his daughter after her, just like, with my Penelope, shares the same middle name as my sister. Anyways, so Absalom decides, because of Joab's position with the king, being his number one man, his right-hand man, he figures, you know what, if I try and send someone directly to my father, if I try to send someone directly to King David, they're not going to get anywhere. I'm going to talk to Joab. See if Joab can go on my behalf. So he sends a messenger or whatever, to Joab two times. But he got absolutely no reply. Obviously, this must have angered Absalom, because his next thought was, okay, well, since he won't speak to me, the next best thing is I'm going to set one of his fields on fire.
That'll get his attention.
Right? That'll get his attention. And I'm not making this up. Next verse. Verse 30. So he said to his servants, see, Joab's field is near mine, and he has barley there. Go and set it on fire. Then Joab, and Absalom's servants set the field on fire. Then Joab arose, got Joab's attention now, and came to Absalom's house and said to him, why have your servants set my field on fire? And Absalom answered, Joab, look, I sent to you, saying, come here, so that I may send you to the king, to say, why have I come from Geshur? It'd be better for me to be there still. Now therefore let me see the king's face, but if there is iniquity in me, let him execute me. Okay? So what we have here, okay, it wasn't just a thing of, Absalom wanting to see his father's face. Okay? It has gotten to that point now that essentially what we're seeing, Absalom has pretty good depression going on at this point. To the point where he is, he wants Joab. The only reason why he wanted Joab to go is say, look, Absalom, this is how Absalom feels about everything, okay? Why did you even bring him out of Geshur? Why did you even allow that? Why did you have that if you wouldn't even, not just speak to him, you wouldn't even see him? He feels like he would have just been better off to stay there. And then what Absalom says is just like, look, now he's not saying, okay, where he says, if there is iniquity in me, let him execute me, okay? He's not trying to say that, I don't feel like I have done anything wrong at all, okay? Obviously, he took off and fled to Geshur, okay? He knows that what he did, killing his half-brother, was technically wrong. He took it in his own hands, and that's why he fled, okay? What he's saying here is, if you are so unhappy with me, with what I did, with everything that has happened, fine, execute me. I'd rather be dead than to live in the palace, live in your household, and be ignored by you. Okay? At this very point, I would say when it comes to his demeanor, when it comes to his countenance, Absalom is at his lowest point right now. Okay? So Joab, verse 33, went to the king and told him this. When he had called for Absalom, he came to the king and bowed himself on his face to the ground before the king. Then the king kissed Absalom. Okay? So Joab goes to King David. He explains this. King David calls for Absalom. Now at this point, all Absalom knows is, my father has called for me. He knows one of two things is going to happen when he gets there. It's either he's going to live, King David will let him live, or he will be executed. Okay? He knows and that is why we see when he comes in, even though the king is his own father, at this point he is looking at him as the king. Okay? Not as father. He looks at him as king by bowing himself down on his face on the ground. Okay? He's bowing himself down. He is getting himself in a position where he has no way to defend himself. He's essentially saying, my life is in your hands. King David, though, instead of having him put to death, jailed, or whatever he might want to do in that sense, instead says the king kissed Absalom. Now the king kissing Absalom, okay, this was him signifying at this point that he's recognizing, okay, Absalom bowed down as you are the king. David raises him up saying, I am your father. Okay? If Joab had have gone before David in this sort of situation, okay, David would not have given him that kiss, okay? It would have been something else. It would have been something of putting some sort of rod or scepter or something out to him, or something else along that lines to say, to pardon him of whatever, or to let him go free, to say I'll use the term absolved, whatever of it. In this case, he is raising him up as father. I mean, the picture that we have right there in that verse really is of us, and when it comes to salvation. When we get to that point, and we're just like, I need this. I want this thing. I want this gift of salvation. That's the way we need to be. That's how salvation works. We are bowing down as in, God, you are my king, and he is raising us up as our father. He's saying, you are now my child. It's just a powerful picture in this. In the very end of this account, everything that we see here, and then what a beautiful picture we see in that last verse of chapter 14 there. We will do next week, we'll probably go through a couple, 2-3 chapters fairly quickly. It's Absalom, has then gotten, in chapter 15, has essentially, some time has passed, he's gotten comfortable in the palace again, and that warm, fuzzy feeling that he had at first has kind of gone away. And something else has crept in. So we will look at that next week, though. Let's close in prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you so much for your word. Lord, I thank you for all the truths, all the promises, all the pictures, Lord, that you give to us in your word, giving us all these different accounts. Lord, whether it's ones that actually happened, like what we're looking at tonight, or whether it's through one of the many parables throughout your word, Lord, we just thank you so much for all the different ways that you can teach us through your word. Lord, I just pray for not just myself, Lord, but everyone here, everyone that may be watching, Lord. I just pray that we may search out these promises for ourselves. Lord, that everyone would just, Lord, just have a deeper desire for a relationship, or a deeper relationship with you, and just have that hunger, that thirst to just get to know you better consistently. And what better way than to read your word? Lord, I thank you so much for your love, and just ask your blessing on your church, and Lord, as well as on the different Bible studies and other services we have throughout the week as well. We ask this in your name. Amen.